I'm Gary, and this is Coasting with Culture, which is all about combining theme park visits and riding roller coasters with various cultural experiences around the world. Previously, we visited Fiabilandia and enjoyed some of Italy's best-known coasters, then had an evening of more shameless coaster seeking in a nearby small town. Next, we head to a charming family park that is home to a ride which was a predecessor of a very common shameless coaster model, then turn this Italian journey into a multinational one with an afternoon in a small but incredibly scenic landlocked country. I was surprised by how a smaller park like Fiabilandia has something that's not often seen at much larger parks: solar structures that cover cars in their parking lot. The size and the angle of them keeps the car in the shade for several hours, so we'd have a more comfortable car to come back to when we finished up. Fiabilandia is a smaller family park with rides that appeal more to the younger crowd or those who'd rather enjoy more mild experiences. Along with the rides and water play areas, there are some smaller walkthrough experiences and decorative pieces, such as this neat oversized map of Europe that has miniature figures of the continent's famous landmarks. This was right beside the first of the park's 4 coasters that we rode, called Red Mountain, a Preston and Barbieri family coaster that offers a mild thrill as one of the larger coasters in the park, but is far from too intimidating for the younger crowd. On the other side of the larger European map is Space Mouse, a Fabry Power Mouse coaster which, like Kung Fu Panda a few days earlier, doesn't offer a whole lot of spinning. Maybe not as much fun as other spinning mouse coasters, but easier to handle for those who don't handle being spun around often. And now, one of the holiest of Shameless credits. The third coaster we rode came from Pinfari and is a special ride to those of us Shameless coaster seekers. Valle del Gnome was designed by Armando Tabagnini and was the first ever Wacky Worm style coaster. This ride would serve as an inspiration to the many wacky worms that operate around the world today, some of which have been featured on this channel. But this original ride stands out above the others, as it's a much longer, terrain-hugging ride that feels like the model could have been more of a dark ride coaster combo, rather than the portable model which became popular for parks and carnival operators. It's a cute ride with some adorable theming, and this Shameless coaster hunter might have enjoyed experiencing a ride that led to one of the most common coaster models out there. The last of the 4 coasters, also from Pinfari, was Miniera d'Oro del West, which seemed to take the previous coaster's blueprint and kick it up a notch, as it's also a fun themed ride, but with a larger and faster layout. Still not a world beater of a coaster, but it fits well with the families that the park is appealing to. Another highlight of the park was their Merlin-themed dark ride, where you board these owl-themed cars to travel through the castle, passing through his workshop and saying hello to the magical wizard himself, before a close encounter with a dragon. There are certainly more attractions in the park that others may enjoy while visiting Fiabilandia, but our visit would come to an end with a second lap on Valle del Gnome, just for the heck of it. I am now a very content Shameless credit hunter. While heading out of the park on a hot summer day can be a bummer if your car's been baking in the sun, those solar structures made a huge difference, as it was a lot easier for the air conditioning to make it nice and cool inside. I've long known about the larger European countries like Italy, as well as some smaller countries, including the Vatican City, which is entirely surrounded by Italy. What I didn't know, though, is that San Marino was another smaller country located within Italy's borders, as I had originally thought it was just another city or region of Italy. I had only realized it was its own country during the planning of this trip, so it was neat to know that this would give me a chance to add the 33rd entry into my list of countries visited. The drive to San Marino was quite pleasant as we passed through the rolling hills and vineyards of the region, and in the distance you could see the mountains where the small landlocked country is located. After crossing the border, we'd wind further uphill to make our way to the capital city, which is also called San Marino, or referred locally as Cesta. To get to the top of Monte Titano, for the heart of the city, we hopped on their cable car, which was the first of many incredible views during our visit. And right off the cable car, there's the Canton, which is a panoramic viewpoint offering the sights toward the north and west, and a chance to see more of Italy's mountains surrounding the small nation, as well as the other towns of the tiny country below its capital. Because of the way the city is built on top of the mountain, there'd be tons of great views to enjoy, and there weren't many flat streets to traverse when walking through town. But you'll find yourself surrounded by some beautiful architecture. Coming into Plaza della Libertà, you'll find the San Marino Statue of Liberty, which stands in front of Palazzo Pubblico, the Town Hall of San Marino, which also serves as the seat of the nation's government bodies. And our timing was such that we happened to see part of the changing of the guard right outside. Going from one country to another within Europe doesn't get additional stamps in your passport. However, if you visit San Marino's tourism office and pay €5, you can get their tourist visa added to your passport to make your visit a little bit more official. Spending enough time walking up and down the many angled streets of San Marino will surely build up an appetite, which brought us to Ristorante Diamond. Much like the rest of the city, it had some neat architecture, but if there is a better reason for a stop here, it's the food. Their lasagna might have been the best I've ever had the pleasure to try, as the pasta was so tender, it seemed to just dissolve in your mouth like cotton candy, and the flavor it offered was wonderful. This would easily go down as one of my favorite meals of the entire trip. Ristorante Diamond happened to be located right by Basilica di San Marino, a neoclassical church built in 1836 that on the outside and parts of its interior felt more like a government building. But as you look around more, you'll find more of the artwork you would expect to find in places of worship. Further exploring the town, there are a number of shops you can visit for souvenirs and other various goods. And of course, you can find more incredible viewpoints the city offers, some of which came from these sort of windows formed by the wall and walkways you go across. This view is looking out toward the northeast in the direction of the Adriatic coast. Of course, you can take advantage of the walkway for a more open view, and for continuing further up the mountain. Near the highest point of Monte Titano is Castello della Guiata, an 11th century fortress depicted in San Marino's national flag and coat of arms, and converted into a museum where you can see some beautifully manicured grounds and enter the various chambers of the fortification for information about the development of this historic building, as well as artifacts including weapons and protective equipment used by the guards and soldiers stationed here. There's also a number of locations throughout the fortress for some stunning views. A highlight of this location is the Guiata Tower, the oldest and most famous of the three towers that watch over San Marino from Monte Titano's three highest summits. This tower reached its current form in the 15th century, and climbing further up the tower offers the chance to see the area from the same point of view as those who were there to protect it centuries ago. I personally enjoyed the view out this south side window, which overlooks more of the city of San Marino, heading toward the Cesta, also known as Torre della Frada, which was built in the 13th century on the remains of an old Roman fortress. The more complex nature of the walkways of the fortress means there's a ton of different angles to enjoy, so it's certainly worth giving yourself a bit of extra time to take them in rather than just going to one and calling it good. Having seen Cesta from Guiata, it only made sense to head over to the other side, and the most direct connection was a trail on the ridge between the two, which was a bit more rugged, but absolutely worth the extra effort as it just piles onto the list of amazing viewing locations. Some spots along the way between the towers really gives you an opportunity to truly appreciate how incredibly steep some portions of Monte Titano are, and how challenging the construction of these towers must have been during a time when modern construction equipment and methods hadn't been invented yet. Perhaps the most stunning example of this came in a spot that looked back towards Guiata, which looks like it's a part of the mountain while also appearing to be teetering right at the edge. If you told me we had been placed right in the middle of a fantasy novel or film, I would just about believe it, as it almost seems like it can't be real, and it was awe-inspiring to be able to see it in person. Have you ever visited a place that unexpectedly stunned you with its views the way San Marino did for me? I'd love to know about your experiences, so feel free to share them in the comments section below. This is definitely going near the top of my list of favorite experiences. Even though we didn't know ahead of time that Cesta was closed for renovations, the walk over was absolutely worthwhile for those views. And as we made our way back down the summit, I found something I couldn't turn down, which was a chance to try a beer from Birrificio Abusivo, the only brewery in the entire country of San Marino. Their Weizen beer made for a lovely break from all of that climbing up and down. Out of all of our culture stops on this trip, this was the one I knew the least about, and I absolutely loved the surprise it turned into, and I cannot emphasize enough how worthwhile a visit would be. As Fiabilandia was the last coaster stop we had planned for this part of Italy, that gave us a chance to enjoy a more relaxed evening back in Rimini, which we took advantage of with a walk along the beach. There were a ton of these locations where you could rent beach chairs and umbrellas, but I most enjoyed wading through the pleasantly warm waters of the Adriatic Sea. It was also interesting to see the kinds of watercraft you could rent, including small boats that had a slide attached. The more relaxed evening continued as I went further into town to do some laundry, and then we made our way to one last restaurant in Rimini for dinner, Le Beccio, where I had myself another German beer and yet another pizza in Italy. The easier going evening was much appreciated after a busy few days in the Rimini area. But our last day here was highlighted by some fun at the adorable Fiabilandia, especially getting to ride the coaster that inspired a model I've ridden in various parts of the world, and the real highlight came with heading to San Marino and enjoying some of the most incredible views you'll find anywhere. With that closing of our time in Rimini, we'd continue our drive through Italy for some more Shameless coaster riding, and by making our way to two very popular Italian cities, one which is home to a well-known landmark recognized around the world. Thank you for watching this video from Coasting with Culture. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and click on the subscribe button to see future videos here on YouTube, like these ones which you may enjoy as well. Additional content can be found at coastingwithculture.com, and you can also follow Coasting with Culture on various social media channels at CoastWCulture for announcements, previews, and updates. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, take care and safe travels.